A very good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. I'm Arundhati Naika. First a look at the stories making headlines tonight. President ends his tour of Tanzania and travels to the Seychelles. Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa shares his views of shortcomings in development activities. Navi Pillay says that she will arrive in the country in August. Appointments of principals by misusing cabinet decisions. And now the stories in detail. President Mahinda Rajapaksa departed for the Seychelles on a two-day state visit following a state visit to Tanzania.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa attended the Global Partnership Dialogue 2013 in Tanzania yesterday. The presidential media spokesperson and the international media unit said that the dialogue will be held from the 28th of June to the 1st of July. The objective of this dialogue is to address social and economic issues as well as science and technology in achieving sustainable development. The presidential media spokesperson and the international media unit added that the head of state held bilateral discussions with several other heads of states who attended the dialogue. Among them were the King of Swaziland and the Prime Minister of Malaysia. The presidential media spokesperson and international media unit said that several MOUs were reached during the dialogue and that it was expected to commence diplomatic ties with Tanzania. Meanwhile, President Rajapaksa also attended the luncheon with the other heads of states at the sidelines of the event.
Construction work on the new Hambantota District Hospital commenced today under the auspices of Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa.
An estimated 6 billion rupees will be spent on the new Hambantota District Hospital, which is being built in the Siribopura area in Hambantota. The hospital is being constructed with aid from Netherlands. Once completed, the hospital will boast of 10 stories and will be equipped with 850 beds, an OPD, an ICU, as well as a state-of-the-art theatres for surgeries. We are now nearing the age of retirement and we now see these new constructions. However, most of what we see are mistakes. Earlier we saw what needed to be done and we got it done. I need to say this publicly. Even the president sometimes does not see certain minor shortcomings. He is either in Colombo or travelling 24 hours a day. He cannot come here but he can go abroad. So he cannot see the issues of the common man. Even if he focuses his attention, he cannot say anything. All we want is for the people of this country to benefit. We hope to convert at least one ward in each district hospital into a paying ward. This is being done because of public demand. People make various charges that we are trying to end the free health service. However, people going to private hospitals have asked for a paying ward because the quality and service of government hospitals is higher.
UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay says that she will be travelling to Sri Lanka in August to see if true reconciliation has taken place in the country. She made this statement during an interview with the BBC.
Sri Lanka has invited me and I'm going on a formal visit there in August, and this is what I want to see for myself. I have called for an international investigation to investigate the root causes of the conflict, to investigate what happened during the last days of the war, and to ensure that the rights of victims to the truth, the right of victims for reparation is ensured, and I hope to be able to speak to as many people as possible on my visit to Sri Lanka.
The Water Supply and Drainage Board has announced that a 10-hour water cut will be in effect for Colombo and its suburbs from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow. The board notes that the water cut will be in effect as the CEB is scheduled to carry out mandatory repair work, thus resulting in the disruption of the electricity supply to the Ambatali Water Purification Centre.
According to the Water Supply and Drainage Board, the water supply to the Sri Jawadanapura, Dehiwala, Mount Lavinia and Kaduwala municipalities will be disrupted. The water cut will be in effect in the Maharagama, Kasbaba, Borlasgamoa and Kulonnava urban council areas. The Kotikavatta, Mullaria, Mattegoda, Pannipitia and Joysapura areas will also be affected by the 10-hour water cut which begins at 9 am tomorrow. The Water Supply and Drainage Board notes that bowsers will be used to distribute water for essential needs. A spokesperson for the board notes that steps have been taken to ensure the uninterrupted water supply for hospitals.
The Tamil National Alliance or TNA announced today that they will not take part in the Parliamentary Select Committee which is formed to make recommendations and compile a report on political and constitutional measures that should be taken to enable all people residing in Sri Lanka to live as one nation. TNA MP Suresh Premachandran made this comment to News First this evening.
Today, the Tamil National Alliance, we had the meeting about the Parliament Select Committee. It was headed by Mr. Sambandan, and we decided not to participate in the Parliament Select Committee because basically the Select Committee was formed to dilute the 13th Amendment, but the Tamil National Alliance, we are totally against it. We want to go beyond the 13th Amendment, we want to enhance the 13th Amendment, that is the understanding of the TNA. So we can't accept this Parliament Select Committee and we decided not to participate. Mr. Aminda Sangari also said he couldn't participate in today's meeting, but over the phone he said he also having the same view, and we are having an unanimous decision on this matter not to participate in the meeting.
Meanwhile, speaking to News First, General Secretary of the Tamil United Liberation Front, V. Ananda Sangari, said that even though he did not attend the meeting where the decision was taken, he stands with the TNA.
I am in full agreement with the TNA for deciding not to participate in the Select Committee because it's not going to be of any use. This is being done deliberately to fool the people. I am fully convinced. It is obvious. The way the provincial councils are taking decisions, it's very obvious that there is a big hand playing a very important role in persuading the provincial council members to pass a resolution supporting the government's decision to have a select committee. So this select committee is not going to have any use. Any decision taken in the select committee will not be acceptable to us. And therefore, I am in full agreement with the TNA for deciding not to take part in the select committee.
Meanwhile, comments continue to be made on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
We
are calling on them not to grant powers that are not being used by the Western Provincial Council to the Northern Provincial Council. We are not saying we should use them here and not grant it to the Northern Provincial Council. We do not want to create a power struggle. That is why the President said, if a majority of the provincial councils are against it, then it won't be put in place. If only one provincial council objects, then it cannot be helped. This is not aimed at stealing the powers of one provincial council. Instead, it is aimed at getting rid of the vulnerability of the parliament. If the legislature formulates legislation and they are eventually rejected by these councils, then there is no use of such a legislature. That is why the government believes that this is a fair amendment. So why shouldn't we support it?
The basis of a solution is to be found in a review of our own past in order that we will have a reflection of what we have ultimately achieved. To give an example, we had the language issue, and what came of it? Disputes came of it. And then we had violence engendered, and finally we have settled down to two languages. Who is ultimately to compensate the losses, and who is ultimately to stand in the dock for all what we have suffered and lost? And then came the provincial councils as a solution. And similar violence erupted, as we all know. And for 25 years now the provincial councils have come to stay. Whether it is a solution, a sufficient solution, is another matter. So we need to reflect on all this in arriving at understanding a solution or arriving at a consensus about a solution.
බවුලෑ මගුල් ගෙදර ගියාම ඉන්න ඕන විදියක් තියෙනවා. ඒ බවුලෑ මගුල් ගෙදර ගිහලා මොකෙක් හරි එකේ කකුල් දෙකක් විදියට උටු කියනවා. ඉන්න තැන දැනගෙන තමයි වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැතුව මේ අලුතෙන් ආපු අයට ඇවිල්ලා මේක ඇතුලේ
People need to act knowing fully well where they stand. Newcomers to the SLFP cannot express their personal views. We will not allow people from NGOs to express dissenting views within the SLFP as long as two SLFPers like us are there. We will not allow this to happen.
අපි වගේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාකාරෝ ඉන්නකම් ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක බොහොම පැහැදිලිව මතක් කරනවා.
වවුලාගේ මගුල් ගෙදර කට්ටියට ආවට දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ වවුලු ටික ඔක්කොම ඉන්නේ කුස්සි.
The current Minister of Higher Education is one who crossed over from the UNP. Minister of Education Bandula Gunawardena crossed over from the UNP. Minister of External Affairs is also from the UNP. Minister of Plantations Mahinda Samarasinghe is also from the UNP. Minister of Fisheries Rajitha Senawatna is also one who is originally from the UNP. Minister of Cooperatives and Internal Trade Johnston Fernando is also from the UNP. Even the Minister of Housing is a person who came from the outside. So, if the SLFP is saying everyone should act according to what they say, then it is a baseless statement. Today the SLFP has been dominated by those who came from the outside.
වම්බු කතාවක් විතරයි. ඒක ඇත්ත කතාව නෙවෙයි. අද සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන දේ තමයි ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයට පිටින් ආපු සියලු දෙනා අද මේ පක්ෂය ගිලගෙන අවසන්.
The time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day. Time for a short commercial break. Stay with news first. We will be right back.